Welcome back to Week 5 Prop Shop. I'm your host, Bobby Stanley, also known as PropHolliday on social media, rocking with the GoldBoys for your Sunday night football game. Before we go into my picks and the overview of the game, let's talk about the 1 p.m. slate, because Week 5 was a damn good game a damn good week as far as bets, overs, unders, storylines. We get a London game this week, so Vikings look every bit the part of a 5-0 team, weathered a small storm from the Jets in the second half, but ultimately they close out the win. Rodgers looked heroic for a minute. If you were watching, he went down with what looked like a hamstring injury. He looked like he tore it, and he was limping off the field. Jets go to punt. They get a roughing the kicker, and pretty much Rodgers is like, give me my fucking helmet. I'm going back in the game. Goes back in the game, moves them downfield. They make a game of it. But they still end up losing. And that's what good teams do. They close out those type of games. That's why I know everyone's going to make more of it about the Jets. The Jets look like the Jets, or at least how I expect the Jets to play. The Vikings winning games, not looking good, though that's what playoff teams do. So that was a big win for them, whether you see it spun another way or not. I will say this about Rodgers. He can still sling it. His pocket mobility is fairly limited, but he's 40 years old, so I'm not going to knock the guy. He's getting horrible O-line play. It seems like there's been a free rusher on a couple plays. He's dinking and dunking. Everything is within 10 to 15 yards, which I know is the NFL this year, but he doesn't have time to do a 5 to 7 step drop back. That's kind of what I want to see from him. I need more Rich Eisen and Kurt Warner called games. They're awesome together. We talk about good tandems. Greg Olson's a great guy. I'm lucky enough to get Romo for the Rams game. That's a treat. Brady's picking it up a little bit. And Buck and Aikman are like the gold standard. But I would love more Rich Eisen, Kurt Warner games. I was getting into the game because of Rich Eisen. So I would love a little bit more of that from NFL Network. They don't get enough games. I do think it's weird, these London games, they feel like they're over penalized, or like just these international games, they're over penalized. And I think they do that so that the game can, I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm saying the NFL wants the game to be competitive. And if you can throw, like, it wasn't roughing the kicker in the Jets game, but they wanted the Jets to continue a drive. I think they want these games to be competitive. So internationally, people get into it and they still show up to these games. It's didn't affect any of my bets. It's just food for thought. It seems very weird, some of the scripts. Let's go right to the 1 p.m.s. Deshaun Watson needs to be benched. Twitter is clamoring for how shitty he looks. Jameis Winston, I think everybody just loves now, is kind of like a sports content person, however you want to phrase it. He's fun. He's fun to root for. Deshaun Watson sucks on and off the field. So this is a no-brainer. The problem is, if you bench him, you admit you've made the worst trade in NFL history. Heads will roll. It's pretty much a death sentence for anyone who was involved in that train at upper management. So I'm sure they're holding back as long as they can. But it's going to happen eventually. Deshaun Watson's got awful. That offense should not be as bad as it looks. If you want another flip of how bad it is, Joe Flacco is fucking awesome. That's it. That's the statement. Joe Flacco's the man. 33 of 43, 359 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, a 21-yard rush, which I didn't think he could do at 29, let alone 39. Serious question I wrote down to myself. Would you rather him or Aaron Rodgers right now? Actual question. Jags still get their first win wearing those awesome throwbacks, but I loved watching Joe Flacco. I felt like I was 18 again. That was cool. We finally get Caleb Williams' game. It looks like the number 1 overall pick. He looked like the number 1 overall pick. It only took 5 weeks in the Panthers defense, but we got it. 20 of 29, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a rushing TD, but they called it back. So Caleb Williams looked the part today. 2 touchdown scores in just the 1 p.m. games. T. Higgins, Roshan Johnson, Tank Bigsby, Jamar Chase. They're so much fun. If you're not building a 2 touchdown score round robin every week, even if you're throwing like $8 on it, you have to do it. It's the most fun you can do. We're getting a lot of them. It feels like we're getting 5 to 7 in a week. We had 5 in the 1 p.m. games today. So love the 2 touchdown score trend. It is fun to throw pennies on. Guys in the prop shop know I was swinging at that for a while. Changed up this week, went to alt lines, and we did cash one of those legs. So shout out to anyone who tailed. Ravens-Bengals was the game of the day. Both teams playing their best. I started writing this up with just like the regular regulation stats, and then I had to step away to handle something for OT, so I don't have their fully updated stats. But Burrow goes for 5 TDs, 4 for Lamar, both well over 300 yards passing. Burrow, I think, got close to 4. I have to look it up. I apologize. But it was an absurd game. We get overtime. Justin Tucker wins it. But that's what you want to see from a divisional opponent like that. And both of those teams could very well be if either of those teams make it further in the AFC playoffs, I wouldn't be shocked. The Bengals, even at 1-4 now, still look just like a really good 1-4 team to me. Let's talk about tonight's game. Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing. The Buffalo Bills lose on a 59-yard field goal regulation. I can't believe I didn't bring this up. I think it was 30 or 40 seconds left. They're on their own 10-yard line. They're just throwing deep shots, just hoping to get pass interferences, maybe pick up some yards, see what I don't know what they're doing. You could have needed there, went to overtime. Nobody would have faulted you. Instead, they go 3 and out, chucking the ball. CJ Stroud does a little dump off in the middle of the field, picks up another 5 or 6 yards, and they end up winning the game on a 59-yard field goal. That all falls on Doug McDermott. I don't know how you don't just take a knee and go into overtime in the road like that. That is embarrassing. Now let's talk about Sunday Night Football and the Dallas Cowboys getting 2.5 points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Total is at 43.5. All right, I'll go with the injuries. The injuries are probably the storyline of this game. Unless you want to talk about what's his name's helicopter landing on the field. I fucking hate the owner. No Micah Parsons, no DeMarcus Lawrence, no Brandon Cooks. All of these are big for Dallas. On the Pittsburgh side, no Alex Highsmith, no Jalen Warren, no Cordarrelle Patterson. All three are out. Those are your big name injuries. A lot is being expected of Najee Harris tonight, partially because of the 2 running backs I just mentioned, partially because the Cowboys, I think, have the worst rush defense in the NFL. I'm always skeptical when it comes to betting on Najee Harris. I feel like I got burned so many times, never really lived up to the hype for me. There is a fun guy. I didn't put him in the touchdown lineup. I went back and forth the whole time. I think his name is Aaron Lampkin. Let me look. Aaron Shamplin. I feel like I just did a Adam Sandler bit. Aaron Shamplin he's not a rookie, but he's out of Harvard. He bounced around practice squads. He was on Dallas practice squad in 2022. He's going to get some burn tonight. He was a substitute teacher. It's one of those cool storylines. You're going to hear him pump the hell out of it on Sunday Night Football with Collinsworth. Now, here's a guy that was a substitute teacher 4 weeks ago. I like him to at least be in the mix against this Dallas defense. So I didn't put him in the touchdown liquor cabinet, but Aaron Shamplin, if you're looking for a long shot. Just really quick, I don't have high expectations for this game. Going into the Atlanta Bucs game, we got pleasantly surprised with an OT game. I don't know if we get that here. This screams snooze fest. We got too good of football today during the day for me to think that this is going to be a good game tonight. I can pick apart the Steelers wins if I wanted to. The Falcons win looks like a good win. It looks like a good win. I'm not going to pick that apart, but it's week 1. Broncos win was ugly. Steelers get Herbert, who's questionable. He shouldn't have even played. He had a high ankle sprain, and they ended up pulling him at some point in the game at the end. But that win, not as flashy to me. He shouldn't even play. So somewhat of a blemish. Dallas as a primetime underdog feels better to me than Dallas as a primetime favorite. Say about that what you will. Pitt is the best defense in the league. I still have the memories in my brain of TJ Watt wrecking that Falcons week 1 game. So this could be a snooze fest. I lean Dallas with the 2.5. I don't necessarily lean the over. So Dallas plus 2.5, and I'd probably go under 43.5. Let's go to my actual plays that I put money behind. Pat Freiermuth, Pittsburgh Steelers, over 3.5 receptions at plus 105. I got it at plus 105. It's still probably like minus 110, minus 105 right now. I'm baffled by this line. He's hit it in every game this season. He's seen snaps plus targets increase since backup tight end Nicole Pruitt went down with injury. No Micah Parsons, so it's less likely to need him to chip, coming off the edge and be a little bit less active in the game. Jalen Warren is set to miss another game, so that frees up those short yardage dump offs for Fields. I love this play. Cowboys look good on paper against tight ends, but when you dive into who they played in tight ends, I kind of went into the weeds here. Njoku in week 1 had 5 targets, 4 receptions. He only played 37% of the snaps. He was out until this week. So Njoku hits this line in less than half the game. And every other tight end, Taysom Hill, not a traditional tight end. Ravens dominated the ground so much, there was never a need to go pass heavy and get likely kind of involved. And Theo Johnson plays for the Giants. You can Google him if you want. But I'm not shocked he got shut down by Dallas. So their tight end numbers are a little iffy to me. I think Freiermuth hits this mark with ease. I got it at plus 105. I only went 1 unit because I get skeptical with these Sunday night games, but over 3.5 receptions at plus 105 for Freiermuth. Let's get a quick ad in. Are you new to Caesars? Do you have Caesars? If your first bet doesn't win, you could get up to $1,000 in bonus bets back. $1,000 in credits a bonus. It's a great opportunity to dive in. Check out the link in the description to learn more. You must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Caesar's actually not a bad book. Great commercials, and their lines occasionally are damn good, at least when it comes to touchdowns. So you can get some weak lines on Caesar. It's not a bad book. If you haven't signed up, click the link. It's going to play number 2 for tonight. 1 unit from me. Chris Boswell, Pittsburgh Steelers kicker. Over 6.5 kicking points at minus 125. Shop this one around. I got it at Bet365. He's hit it in 3 or 4 games. He hit it in 1 or 1 at home. This is a zag play for me. Everything is indicating Pittsburgh should roll in this game. If you look at the injuries to Dallas, if you look at their deficiencies as far as a rush defense, it shapes up well for Pittsburgh to roll. And yet the line's still not at 3. That scares me a little bit. No Parsons, no Lawrence. I'm just very skeptical of this game. I will never trust Najee Harris, specifically not in the red zone. Dallas red zone numbers aren't great in the season. I think they can hold up tonight, probably getting a little bit bigger linemen out there in place of Lawrence. 3 field goals is what I'm projecting Boswell to have tonight. That's what I think is going to happen. Best case scenario, 2 field goals and a touchdown, but I think we're getting 3 field goals out of Boswell. It helps that both Dallas and Pittsburgh are 1 and 2 overall in field goals made per game. I think one's 2.7, the other's 2.8. Taking the easy points in prime time matters. I'm going to back the Steelers kicker over 6.5 kicking points. Let's go to the touchdown liquor cabinet. This one was not so bad. So my 2 plays are on the Steelers. My touchdown liquor cabinet leans all Dallas. So this could be an interesting strategy, or it could be horrid. But I think I went with CeeDee Lamb at my top shelf. 1 unit play, CeeDee Lamb, plus 110 on Bet365. I'm getting plus money odds on Lamb. There's no Brandon Cooks. I've got 2 young wide receivers in prime time. I can just see them peppering CeeDee Lamb with targets all night, like 12, 15 targets. Just keep getting him the ball. I know Joey Porter is one of the better corners in the league, but if you get him the ball earlier in the route, let him make plays with his legs. I wouldn't rely so heavily on Tolbert and Jalen Brooks just yet. So Lamb with no Cooks and 2 rookies. I think he gets in at plus 110. It was odd to me that his rushing total is being offered. I haven't seen that every week. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I don't see a rushing total. It was set at 6.5 with the juice towards the under. That's fine. But the fact that they're putting this market out on him tells me he's going to have somewhat of a more than normal involvement in the offense. So Lamb at plus 110 for 1 unit if I'm trying to read between the lines. Let's go to mid-shelf, bringing that unit size down, quarter unit, half a unit. Ezekiel Elliott, plus 300 over on DraftKings. Has a history of playing well against the Steelers dating back to last season with New England. Fell off in snap share in weeks 3 and 4. There was a significant drop from him where Dow takes the lead. But if I look at the games, they were playing behind against Baltimore the entire time. So not much of a role there for Zeke Elliott. He only gets 4 carries in that game. Next game against the Giants, a little more competitive, but it goes up to 5 carries. What's interesting to me is even though his role fell off, he still leads the Dallas Cowboys in red zone rush attempts. He has 2, Dak has 1, Dowdle has 1. I'm not saying it's a great rush attack, but maybe Zeke punches one in. I'm getting 3-1. And this game, again, if I'm playing it to be low scoring, Zeke has a role in this game. Not a huge one. Maybe he gets to 8 or 9 carries, but that's enough to get 1 in the end zone. Let's go down to Vodka. Vodka prices, bonus bets, no sweat bets, $5-10. I like this because of his punting return abilities. If you can get it on a book, FanDuel being one of them, Bet365, he gets 1 in the end zone with a punt return. This cashes, and there's just a lot of uncertainty in that Dallas offense in Cook's absence. They get to look at these 3 guys. They get to look at Turpin, Jalen Tolbert, and Brooks. Who can step up? Why not throw a no sweat on Kevontae Turpin at 5-1? And even if he keeps his normal punt return rolls, that's always a chance he could take it to the house. That's not worth 5-1 in itself, but them not knowing who's going to be the wide receiver 2 and 3 tonight is worth sprinkling this on me. So Turpin is my Vodka play. And I'm going to bring up that Lampkin guy. I didn't give it to James, the producer. That one's on me. Or Aaron Champlin. Jesus Christ. He's the backup to Najee Harris. I don't trust Najee Harris. He's going to have an awesome storyline. So him to score a touchdown is probably like plus 275, plus 300. I think he's going to be the RB2 tonight against a weak Dallas rush defense. And him to score 2 touchdowns is plus 2,800. If you could put a penny on that, it might be fun for the storyline. That's all I got for you guys. I will see you tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time to go over Monday Night Football. We got Saints and Chiefs. That game I'm very excited for. Tonight's going to be a snoozer. Go to bed early because tomorrow night's game is going to be good. But lock these bets in. Freiermuth over 3.5. Chris Boswell over 6.5 kicking points. CeeDee Lamb on the 1-unit top shelf touchdown scorer. Zeke Elliott in that mid shelf. Cavante Turbin and Aaron Shamplin, if I can get his name right. Guys, have a good rest of your night.